and welcome to our Elimination Round 2 press conference from the 2018 Challenge Cup. Today's winner, Andy Montgomery. Andy, congratulations.
Thank you.
So there was obviously a lot of crazy score tracker movement today. Up, down, this person in the lead, this person falling to the bottom. How's your blood pressure doing right now?
Well, I've kind of cooled down now, I guess. So it was pretty nerve-wracking there for a little bit, trying to win. So, I made a little run in the second period and got close, and then me and Christy kind of traded blows there for the last of the third period. So I'm just fortunate I caught the last one.
Congratulations, Andy. Good job.
Thanks.
Hey, watching the score tracker today, there were a lot of lulls and a lot of flurries, with the fish catching. What do you think that was?
I couldn't figure out the lull deal was a product of the conditions. We're the second day behind the cold front, probably the first cold front of the fall, bright bluebird skies. But, the flurries, I really couldn't figure that out. Christy had a little flurry. I definitely had a couple flurries. Just the fish moving around a lot, I guess. The first period, it took me an hour or so to figure out where they was at, and they was up there really, really shallow, dirt shallow. So I caught them pretty good there at the end of the first period. And then going into the second period, of course, I stayed dirt shallow, and the fish had actually moved. So I didn't catch nothing for the first hour and a half of the second period. And then I figured out where they had moved to. They'd moved off the bank, got on hard cover as the sun came up, and I was able to catch some there at the end of the second period and carry that over into the first of the third period. So my biggest flurry was at the end of the second period when I figured out where the fish had repositioned, and then going into the third period, I was able to catch them pretty good, pretty quick, and I just kind of run out of territory, run out of area that fit the pattern.
Congratulations, Andy.
Thanks.
This kind of followed up. A cold front moved through yesterday, but by period 3, it was 75 degrees and sunny. How do you think the changing conditions affected the fish's behavior?
The fish are affected by the actual front. I don't know how much temperature really affects them, but the harder the front, the lower the temperature in the morning is going to be. So warming up in the afternoon, I don't know really how much that affects them, but definitely the cold front aspect of it. And not only the cold front, we're on the second day after the cold front. So that's typically the worst time to fish. We had bright bluebird skies, and we had some wind, which was good. If we didn't have any wind, it would have made conditions even tougher. So conditions wasn't ideal, but I fished the conditions. I fished hard cover on up in the day when the sun got high that the fish wanted to be relating to something. So I fished the conditions even though they wasn't ideal.
Your first fish was a 310. Big fish, and then you finished off with another couple of threes. You had a little bit bigger quality throughout. Is there anything you can attribute that to? Was it the bait you were throwing?
I really don't. All the big fish I caught was suspended out over deeper water. 9 or 10 foot of water. So that may have had something to do with it. The ones I caught dirt shallow was just 2-pounders, pound and a halfers, or whatever. But I caught them all on the same bait, a bladed jig with a Strike King raised bug trailer. But it was more probably, where the fish was located. It was out in a little deeper water, which typically, can be a little better quality fish. But definitely all the big fish I caught, the 3-pounders, I call them big fish, they was all in a very, very similar pattern, that's for sure.
Andy, you had a pretty stacked field today. Were there any anglers you were particularly worried about?
No, I don't look too much into that. I respect these guys. I respect every single one of them. Anybody that backs their boat in this competition, you respect them. But you can't worry about who you fish against. That's for sure, because I can't control that. I only control what I can control. When they tell me to go fishing against whoever, I got to go fishing. So. It's definitely a pretty stout field, but every one of these deals is a stout field, so you can't worry about that. You just got to go fishing.
Andy, this morning on Facebook Live with Allie, your statement was that you were very cold going into the water. So how does that affect you as the angler going out and having to do your ride around while the temperatures are so chilly, and how do you think that kind of affects the early morning fishing?
I don't let it affect me for sure. I may say something about it, but it's definitely not going to affect me. It's just this is the first cold front I've experienced this year. It's been really hot at home, and so my blood wasn't quite ready for that. But once you go, you just don't think about it. You're so focused on catching fish. You can't let rain, you can't let cold. You know, in our last event, we had unbelievable rain, torrential rains, and I guarantee you none of these guys let it affect them. You can't let stuff like that, outside circumstances, affect you. So it didn't affect me at all. The fish, you know, it didn't seem to affect the fish. We're on the second day behind the front, like I've said before. Typically, that's an early morning deal. You're going to catch them early, then you're going to go through a lull, and then maybe catch some on up in the afternoon. So more than the cold temperatures affecting the fish, I think maybe the you know, the actual front that caused the cold temperatures affected the fish a little bit, made it a little tougher.
Today, excuse me, sorry. Andy, what were your main baits and patterns today, and how did you change them throughout the day?
Yeah, so I started out fishing a lot of hard cover, a lot of wood cover, with a bladed jig with a Strike King raised bug as a trailer, and that's how I caught the 3-pounder to start with. And then I made a cast up really shallow with a buzz bait and was able to catch one dirt shallow. I'm talking about dirt shallow. And I kind of rode that to the end of the first period, tried to ride it in at the beginning of the second period, and it was gone. And then I just went back to the bladed jig, the way I caught the first big one with the Strike King raised bug trailer, and was able to develop a pattern. It was a pattern that was coming to me later in the day. It wasn't very good early in the morning, but definitely the sun later in the day helped that deal. And you know, I was able to get on a little roll there at the end of the second period and carry it over into the first of the third.
Andy, the third period was pretty wild as the score track was lighting up all over the place. What kind of pressure were you feeling in that moment?
I didn't really feel any pressure today. You know, I got pretty dialed in on what the fish was on, and I knew I didn't have a lot of water to fish my pattern. So, you know, you have windows of opportunity in this sport. Windows open up throughout the day when the conditions are right, and it's just a little feeding frenzy, you know, a little feeding period. And when you really know what the fish are relating to, you got to run with it. And I guess that's the reason I didn't feel any pressure, because, you know, I got in a situation today where I really knew what the fish was doing, exactly what to look for. And personally, I wasn't even paying attention to the score tracker, you know, until that little flurry that I had, that little window of opportunity was kind of over. And then I knew that me and Christy was one fish, you know, separating us, and then it was just kind of grind it out and catch a fish here, and he catch a fish, and then I catch another one. And, you know, after my little flurry, that's when I guess I felt a little pressure for sure. But it wasn't when the score tracker was popping. It was when it was tight and it was really hard to get a bite, and that's when you kind of felt more of the pressure.
So coming in here, I don't think any of you had any experience in this area whatsoever. Do you like that? And secondarily, when you got out there today, did you feel like this area fit you well at all, or fit the way you like to fish? Yeah,
in some ways this area fit me, some ways it didn't. Of course, I mean, I've said it before, I just absolutely love this format. I love knowing that I'm backing my boat in, and nobody knows more than me. Nobody's got a book full of waypoints. It's just who's the best fisherman that day, and I absolutely love that about Major League Fishing. But, you know, I don't have much experience on these oxbow types of lakes. They're really flat, and I just don't have much experience with them as far as reading them and stuff. But one of my strengths is fishing shallow and catching shallow fish, shallow visible targets and stuff like that. So I knew the fish would be shallow. I mean, I know they get shallow this, you know, in an oxbow. So that part of it fit my style really well, that it was going to be largemouth, it was going to be shallow fishing. The side that didn't is I don't have much experience with these types of places, you know, these types of oxbows. Sometimes we go to places that we've never been before, which again I love, but once we get there, you know, we can relate it to a lake that we fished in the past, and we can kind of draw from that experience on how the fish related to certain structure, certain cover, and stuff like that. Oxbow lakes, like I say, I just don't have much experience with them. I don't know, you know, what typically is the main forwards in an oxbow lake and just stuff like that. I don't have much experience. So the oxbow side of it didn't fit me, but shallow target fishing, largemouth did, so it was able to balance out.
when your boat official said lines out in period 3, were you celebrating or waiting sure no one had caught a last fish?
You know, this was kind of a weird day. I was actually celebrating. You know, typically, I don't know if it got so hard to catch one there at the end of the day. I just kind of felt like I'd won. You know, I don't know. Typically, that's a good question, because typically you're always stressed out to see if they caught one at the last minute, you know, to knock you out and stuff like that. But I don't know. It was a different feeling today. I guess because it was so tough, I just kind of had the feeling that I had won.
Andy, earlier you said you didn't think much about the score track or worry about it. Was it more important to you just to make it into sudden death, or was it more important or were you setting out to win the day?
Well, you know, the goal is to make sudden death. That's the deal. Because when sudden death starts, I ain't got no head start. You know, this is over. I won great, but sudden death starts. If I finish last in sudden death, this is useless. So, so the goal is to make the top 6. But there was a point in the day when I was pretty sure that the top 6, I had that wrapped up, and then you want to win. You know, the competitive side of you wants to win. So there was definitely a point in the day where I switched my focus to trying to win for sure.
You talked about throwing the Strike King, Rage Bug, the bladed jig. Are you going to leave those things tied on, or how will you change your strategy going into the sudden death round?
Well, that's the deal about Major League Fishing. You never know what you're going to get into. You know, if we go to a oxbow or a lake similar to this, then yeah, I mean, the Rage Bug and the bladed jig will play a role. But what I've seen with these things, typically you don't go to the same types of places. So, you know, I got a feeling we'll probably go somewhere that's got a ton of grass. This place had no grass in it, had no vegetation. Our next round, we're liable to be, you know, on a place full of vegetation. So, if I get there, it'll definitely be tied on, be ready, which, you know, I had a lot of grass stuff ready today too. So, I got a lot of different scenarios. I got a lot of Daiwa rods and reels ready. I probably got 40 or 45 that I'm carrying with me in the boat, ready for a lot of different scenarios. And you know, if we encounter the same type of lake with no vegetation and stuff, then definitely the Rage Bug is going to play a big key.
Awesome. Well, one last question, Andy. Obviously, last year you weren't able to compete in the World Championship, not because you didn't have the points, but because of a technicality in our rules that you hadn't competed the full 2 years yet. Yeah, that's what we'll call it.
Yeah,
so,
we'll call it a technicality.
Coming into this event, you already have enough points. You're guaranteed a berth into the World Championship. How does that feel that even if you got last place here, you would have gotten into the World Championship, and now it's just the icing on the cake? Yeah,
I knew after last event I was in the World Champ. I had enough points even if I finished last, so that was really all the last I thought about it. I hadn't thought about it much this week. You know, I'm looking forward to the World Championship. It's only 12 anglers, and it's going to be a really, really good deal. But you know, after the last event, and of course when they send us the updated rankings, I seen that I was going to fish the World Championship. So I hadn't really thought about it much this week until you brought it up. It makes me smile, that's for sure.
Well, awesome. Well, we love to see you smile. Congratulations again on your win today, and good luck in sudden death this week.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys.